All right, welcome to Sekhet-Maat, Oasis, Qabalah 101 class. My name is Frater Audeo, and this is Soror Luz-y. And do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law.
Love is the law, love under will. Welcome to our free class with Sekhet-Maat. There's a suggested donation of $10 that will help us to continue our mission of offering these events in the future. If you'd like to donate, you can visit www.pdxoto.org and donate there. And I think there might be a chat link to donate as well. I don't know, I haven't seen it, but if it gets put in there, check there too. If you like this content and you're enjoying this on YouTube, please subscribe and like it so that others can see the content as well. And you can get notifications. We put new content every week out on our channel. So, yep.
All right, another little disclaimer. I may say things different than you say them. I may use different correspondences than you use. That's all right. We're here to learn. I don't claim to be a master of anything. I'm really just a student right along with you. And I list the correspondences, and then we do a nice pathworking at the end of it, or meditation, if you will. So I hope you enjoy it. And with that, we'll get started. All right, today's the 22nd path, the faithful intelligence, Sekhet-Maat, which is the path leading from Qabalah to Tiferet, the path of power to the path of beauty, the fifth sphere to the sixth sphere, the sphere of Mars to the sphere of Tiferet, or the sphere of the sun. It is all about, it's representing the Hebrew letter Lamed. And Lamed translates to ox goad. And ox goad is a whip, basically, something that you would direct an ox with. And so there's a relationship there right off the bat. If you think back, other Hebrew letters correspondences, you've got Aleph, the fool. We haven't got there during this class series yet, but we will. That is simply the ox. And so it's kind of interesting that you have an ox goad in that. So it really kind of focuses on the fact that when one learns to correct that life breath or that universal spirit and uses it in a consciously directed manner, we can obtain a level of balance and a level of symmetry in our life, a level of faithful intelligence or faithful consciousness can be manifested through that direction of energy. You'll notice kind of the shape of the Lamed. Lamed kind of looks like a head with his snake, excuse me. It looks like a snake with his head erect and kind of poised up. And that's not necessarily an accident. I mean, the symbol of serpent starts in Tet, and it continues on through the series. In the path of Mem, it is eating its tail, and in the path of Lamed, it is fully back extended and erect. You'll see a lot of kind of phallic references here. Not only phallic, but also energetically phallic. It is like the kundalini that is rising through the spine, demonstrated. And that's that life power that's being directed, and where we're learning to give direction and correction in our life and in our temple of our holy body, and learning to direct that force. And as you'll see later on, we also talk about the mystical state that's obtained through the conscious creation. So as a letter, its value is 30. Spelled out, Lamed Mem Daleth is 74. It's kind of interesting always to find a little bit about the gematria certain words or letters in order to understand it, because there's usually a common thread for some of them. And for this letter, works out pretty well. Other words that add up to 30 are Judah, tribe of Israel, Yahaza, or Yayaza, Yaya, the 22nd name of the Shemham Fresh, Yehe. Other words, those are all, there was one other one in there that maybe didn't make it to the notes, but it meant judge or tribe, judge of.
The tribe of Israel is the
Right.
Udahea.
Let's see, and then 74 is Lamed spelled out. The Lamed Mem Daleth spells the word Lamed, and so that adds to 74. Odd is another eternity, duration, during, booty. Ed is witness, proof, ruler. Dea is knowledge, wisdom. Gihon, a river of Eden, and then Lamed being Libra as well. So all of those add up to 74, and it's kind of interesting. Like there's the judge, and there's knowledge and wisdom. There's witness. All of these things kind of tie loosely to the idea of what Lamed is. And if you kind of meditate on each one of those, you can kind of find the thread. I would highly recommend a little time spent. If you have a 777 or Godwin's or anything that you can look up letters, even on the internet, all you have to do is Google search it and find out pretty easily what letter or what words equal in Hebrew to what its gematria equals. Lamed also is particularly to Libra. It is the zodiacal sign. It's a simple letter, one of the 12 simple letters, and each one of the 12 simple letters represents a zodiacal sign, and this one is Libra. The mystic number is 253, and just simply put, a Lamed transliterated can be an L, and that's how you would utilize it in translating it to English. All right. Some of the attributions are the animals are real and imaginary are the elephant and the spider. And the elephant particularly is the idea of that, you can see in that slide right there, supporting the world, balanced on a tortoise. That's a Hindu representation, and that's where I believe it comes from. But it's really that idea of support and balance. All along this path, we're going to hear everything's going to be about equilibrium. It's going to be about path. It's going to be about balance. It's going to be about support. And that glyph represents it really well. And then the spider. The spider is the other animal associated with it. And that's because the spider creates beautiful webs that are symmetrical. Not to mention the spider itself is symmetrical. It's shaped, it's got its 8 legs balanced on the other side. But the spider webs particularly are just amazing representations of a certain shape going out and out and out. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger, but it's the same shape that it started with, and it's really beautiful. Some of the plants are aloe and needle plants. Precious stones are emeralds. Magical weapon is the cross of equilibrium. And that can purely be the cross of equilibrium. It's the way you set something up. It's the way you set things in balance. It's the way you would say set up a magical temple. That would be a demonstration of the cross of equilibrium. If you get a bunch of magicians together and they're setting it up, good chance they're all arguing about what line is straight or what is this and where is that balanced, and that's not in the center, and that's, it goes on and on, but that's really that cross of equilibrium being created right then and there. It also can be an equal armed cross, but I like the idea of thinking about it as an action, as something that is occurring. The perfume is galbanum, and galbanum, that was interesting looking that up. Apparently it has a green smell. Whatever green smells like, I'm not certain, but I guess, you know, right off the bat, I was thinking of like terpenes or something like needle, like piney maybe, and that ends up being pretty close to what it was. It's not anything to do with pine needles, but it has a scent of pine, and it's supposed to be good for the respiratory system. But then I looked it up in 777, and Crowley took a kind of a darker spin on it of what galbanum is, and it's he mixed it with Saturn, and it was actually the idea of it being with Saturn, and it was more of a negative thing, representing actually the rape of Persephone by Hades in one fashion or another. So on the Google search, it was all light and fluffy. On Crowley's side, it was a little darker. Imagine that, I guess, and it had to do with sex. Surprise. So the human body, and not that that is, yeah, but anyway, I'll move on. Human body, the liver is what's the organ associated with it. A common disease would be a kidney disorder. And then that symbol that you see on the right side of the slide is a geomantic figure named Puella. And as usual, I will let Vanessa speak about that.
Thank you.
Sorry, Lucy.
Well, Puella is the girl. Other names for Puella is beauty and purity. The key word is harmony, and the quality of this figure is stable. The image of this figure is a female figure with oversized breasts or reflective surface. The planet is Venus. The sign is Libra. It is strengthened in the 7th house and weakened in the 1st. This figure represents the female sexual energy. The mainstream commentary has what I consider a misogynistic point of view of this character. And since we reject these ideas of misogyny being permitted in our community, the principle can be confirmed on USGL website, if you'd like to look at our mission statement or value statements. So this is going to be my interpretation of Puella, and your mileage may vary. I think it represents a balance but undecided energy. These energies are focused towards what lies within. The inner self is reflected, showing the inner beauty without. With interaction and relationship, Puella finds equilibrium, a balance of inner self-reflective quality and the outer experience. Once equilibrium is found in one thing, Puella may seek to find balance and relationship in others. Puella is favorable for questions of love and friendship and immediate results. As for the long term, it suggests Puella could be considered unfavorable for the desire to establish relationship and connection may cause distraction by others and could be drawn to move on.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, so the divine name in Asya is Yod-He-Vav-He Sabaoth, or it also, since it's a zodiacal sign, it's always one of the 12 banners of the permutation of Yod-He-Vav-He, and this one being Vav-He Yod-He. Archangel is Zuriel, and that is, all right, the legendary orders of beings are the fairies and the harpies. Heavens of Asya are the Manzanim, which simply translates to Libra or Libra, depending on your mileage may vary of pronunciation there as well. Venus rules Libra and Saturn is exalted in. Also, Libra's a cardinal air sign. It is also, all right, so now we'll get into, did I get everything on there? The angelic ruler is Yahael, or Yahel. I think that's the only one I didn't say. Okay. The pantheon, the gods that are associated with this path would be Egyptian Maat, anything to do with balance and the justice. So in Greek, it's Themis, the goddess of justice, Minos Erichas, Rhodmanthus. Roman god would be Vulcan or Venus, and Hindu is Yama. And I thought that was interesting too, and because Yama means like a control. Like if you think about pranayama, that's energy, the control of energy, often associated with breath. But Yama itself is like the don'ts of Indian yoga. So,
But it also could be like the rules of
yeah,
like the laws of
not like
what,
the bad don'ts, but it's just
like
it's,
the things that you shouldn't do, or
a lot of times it is in Indian yoga, it's a list of, you know, all of the things that they consider not necessarily best for your spirituality. Crowley takes definitely a different look on that, and I think it's more of a line of almost like utilizing Saturn and utilizing that idea of taking something and putting a box around it or a level of something to be contained in order to break free, in order to transcend that experience, not necessarily be stuck by it like a dogmatic idea, but utilizing it. Because like, just take the idea of a bomb, you know, if you just light gunpowder, it just, you know, it just creates fire really quick and goes out. But if you pack that gunpowder into a metal container and you pack it tight and it, you know, make it correct and you explode that, it's going to make a huge difference in effect. Even though it's the same material, it's the same thing, but you could put it in a container,
it changes.
It changes it and it allows it to experience far greater than what it would have been if it was just loose. So I think in there, the idea of Yama is beneficial to Thelemites. The idea of putting a restriction in order to break free and in order to transcend an idea. So the magical power and the magical states, all works of justice and equilibrium. So, and it's not necessarily getting a moral idea of right and wrong. It's more of the idea of universal right and wrong, of do this, you know, the idea of not attaching man's rules to it and man's idea, morals and dogma to ideas. It's more of a simple fact of, if you do this, it breaks down the system. If you do this, it feeds the system. Alchemical sublimation is the also the magical power. Sublimation means take to its highest expression. So lead into gold would be, and if you notice, it kind of looks like the glyph for Libra, and imagine that it looks very balanced and symmetrical. All of the things that Lamed is to represent, and all of the things that this path represents.
That was just an example.
Go ahead. You can.
Oh, you wanted me to
Sure.
read it? Okay. Yeah. Well, back on sublimation. So when I was creating this slide, I kind of had the idea of, when I was just kind of thinking about sublimation, which can mean, you know, taking things from one state and increasing its level of expression to a higher expression, or a more pure value, or, you know, just raising up the energy from like Malkuth, from a Psi into a Bria. Is that Absolute? Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also a student, so. But I was thinking about the Gnostic Mass, and like when the priest and the priestess enter the temple, you know, they come in as a regular person.
Priest does, at least, yeah.
Yeah, and then they go through the different processes in order to, well, at least make the priest, you know, worthy of distributing the virtues to the brethren, and the priestess also.
And the priestess as well, yeah.
Right. So
Most definitely.
and so
Communion.
and yeah, definitely. And so we're, taking like our mundane self and going through this alchemical process of taking our nature to a higher level, and achieving that God divine that's within. So it just made me think about that.
Oh, no, I agree. That's why I wanted you to talk about it.
Oh, thank you.
All right. So the tarot card associated with Lamed would be adjustment. Traditionally, the deck would say justice, or the card would be called justice, but Crowley made a change to both the name and its placement. He actually went back to the Marseille arrangement, where Marseille's deck had it at 8 and swapped it with Lust key and put that at 11. And there's a long string of reasons behind that, but it was the balancing of the idea of flipping the Hay and Zodi flip. And then at the other end of the spectrum, by placing adjustment or justice back to its original placement in the original deck, it seemed to make a confirmation to him that that's the way that the real order should be, and it helped him decide that he was on the right path with the Hay-Zodi flip when he noticed that he flipped those back to their original position, and it made the zodiacal basically a double flip in the horizon of the zodiac. The wheel of the zodiac has a twist at each end when doing this. So. But I like its placement at 11 too. I came up in a different lineage of studying tarot, and I was the BOTA, which is really great way to learn as well. And I like being at 11 as well, because it's halfway through the deck. It makes sense to be at that point of balance. It makes sense to be there as well. So you're only encouraged to meditate on this, and encouraged to find out if this works for you and how it works, and or maybe use it as a model at certain times and use the other model as the other times. Your mileage may vary on all of it, but that is where Crowley took it. So talking about the color scales, and I thought Lady Frida Harris, or Lady Harris, I believe.
Yeah.
I'm usually corrected. I say it the other way. So, the king scale is emerald green. The queen scale is blue. The prince scale is deep blue green, and the princess scale is pale green. And a lot of cards, they didn't include all of those colors so strongly. They're really evenly placed, and every one of them is represented on this key. It's a beautiful card. It's one of, just looking at it, it shows poise and balance and beauty, and just if you think about where it's placed as well, of course it's going to look, it's going to have beauty related to it because of Tifereth being down at her feet, and Geberoth down up at her head. The 4 balls on either side, you can see those as the 4 worlds, top and bottom. There's so much to talk about in that card that it's just, you can go on and on. It's unique to notice that you're often represented when you look at like the scales of justice. The justice will be blindfolded, and yes, this representation is blindfolded, but there's slits cut in, and that's kind of unique to notice and meditate about that, and see what that means, and what does that mean in this card, and what does it mean to you. That's the gift of tarot. The gift of tarot is what your meaning is. It's what your understanding can't go without saying of like how much of a deeper understanding of tarot if you spend time getting to know each one of them in finer detail and meditating, not just the book knowledge. See what yourself tells you. And this is Lamed spelled out. This is what would equal 74. And that would be Adjustment, the Hanged Man, and the Empress. So you can see that as learning to control that life power that we talked about earlier, that breath, that ruach, that life breath, properly controlled brings you into a state of samadhi, or a state of perfect balance and poise and reversal of all things outside. And after that occurs, it's easier for you to create the world around you. It's easier for you to work with the energies that are represented just to the right. And the way I'm deciphering those are from right to left, just as you would read Hebrew. So you see the balance, and then the samadhi represented by the hanged man, and then creative, that creative idea of creation, visualization. The Empress is said to be pregnant with ideas, and all very close together too. They're all their placements are close on the tree of life as well. So the goddess of truth and justice is Ma. A goddess of justice might be, and this is all about Atu 8. A goddess of justice might be attributed here, but in the higher sense of the 8th Atu. The main idea is that of a satisfied woman. We might therefore insert Venus, which rules Libra. Note Saturn is exalted in Libra. Nemesis represents the ultimate automatic justice of nature. Atu 8 may have connection with the awakening of the Eld of the All-Father. And that's a reference to Libra 418, or the vision and the voice. I was thinking Aether, it just wasn't coming. So I had to glance up and look at my book, sorry. So that's basically all of the minutia part. We're going to get ready to do our pathworking. So at a certain point, you're going to be asked to show a symbol or a sign, in which that's a white feather. So you can visualize that however you would like. If you pull it out of a pocket, or if you're wearing it around your neck and you show it as the symbol, that.
Or in your hair.
Or in your hair, I guess, sure. However, as long as you have a feather, I think you'll get to pass by.
Okay.
If anybody needs a break, let me know now, or we'll just start going. And actually, Soror Lucy's going to do a banishing real quick for us. So if you needed to take a bathroom break, the time would be now, or just appreciate what she's doing.
Melkut Vegebura Vedula Liolam Amen. Yore Vave Adonai Yea Atagabul Elam Adonai. Before me, Raphael. Behind me, Gabriel. In my right hand, Mikael. In my left hand, Oriel. About me flames the pentagram. Within me shines the six-rayed star. Ator. Ailas. Nelkut. Vegebura. Vegedula. Leolam. Amen.
Thank you. So get comfortable and allow yourself to begin to follow your breath. Take a deep breath in and exhale with a sigh. And another deep breath in. Then one more. Allow all the day's concern to just flow out with a breath. Try to stay in the moment, not worried about what's for dinner or what you already ate. Focus only on the breath. We're going to do a 4-count breath. We're going to inhale for 4. We're going to hold it for 4. We're going to exhale for 4. And then we're going to stay empty with no breath for 4. And then we're going to keep doing that for a few cycles. So I'll just lead us in that. So inhale, hold, exhale, stay empty. 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 Now just allow your breath to go in and out, not focusing on the count any longer, but stay focused on the breath. Follow the breath in and repeat a mantra to the following the breath. The breath goes in and the breath goes out. The breath goes in and the breath goes out. Now do this on your own for a couple of minutes. Anytime the mind wanders, bring it back to the breath. Don't try to control what your breath is doing. Just be an observer. Easier said than done, but practice. We're going to begin tonight's reading or tonight's meditation with a reading from one of our holy books, Liber Zodi. It fits well with the work at hand. In the name of the Lord of Initiation, Amen. I fly and I alight as a hawk. Of mother of emerald are my mighty sweeping wings. I swoop down upon the black earth, and it gladdens into green at my coming. Children of earth, rejoice, rejoice exceedingly, for your salvation is at hand. The end of sorrow is come. I will ravish you away into mine unutterable joy. I will kiss you and bring you to the bridal. I will spread a feast before you in the house of happiness. I am not come to rebuke you or to enslave you. I bid you not turn from your voluptuous ways, from your idleness, from your follies, but I bring you to joy to your inner pleasure, peace and your languor, wisdom to your folly. All that ye do is right, if so be that ye enjoy it. I am come against sorrow, against weariness, against them that seek to enslave you. I pour you lustral wine that giveth you delight both at the sunset and the dawn. Come with me, and I will give you all that is desirable upon the earth. Because I give you that of which earth and its joys are but as shadows. They flee away, but my joy abideth even unto the end. I have hidden myself beneath a mask. I am a black and terrible God. With courage conquering fear shall ye approach me. Ye shall lay down your heads upon mine altar, expecting the sweep of the sword. But the first kiss of love shall be radiant on your lips, and all my darkness and terror shall turn to light and joy. Only those who fear shall fail. Those who have bent their backs to the yoke of slavery until they can no longer stand upright, them will I despise. But you who have defied the law, you who have conquered by subtlety of force, you will I take unto me, even I will take you unto me. I ask you to sacrifice nothing at mine altar. I am the God who giveth all. Light, life, love, force, fantasy, fire, these do I bring you. My hands are full of these. There is joy in the setting out. There is joy in the journey. There is joy in the goal. Only if ye are sorrowful or weary or angry or discomforted, then ye may know that ye have lost the golden thread, the thread wherewith I guide you to the heart of the groves of Ulysses. My disciples are proud and beautiful. They are strong and swift. They rule their way like mighty conquerors. The weak, the timid, the imperfect, the cowardly, the poor, the tearful, these are mine enemies, and I am come to destroy them. This also is compassion, an end to the sickness of earth, a rooting out of the weeds, a watering of the flowers. O my children, ye are more beautiful than flowers. Ye must not fade in your season. I love you. I would sprinkle you with divine dew of immortality. The immortality is no vain hope beyond the grave. I offer you the certain consciousness of bliss. I offer it at once on earth before an hour hath struck upon the bell. Ye shall be with me in the abodes that are beyond decay. Also, I give you power, earthly, and joy, earthly, wealth and health and length of days. Adoration and love shall cling to your feet and twine around your heart. Only your mouth shall drink of a delicious wine, the wine of Iacchus. They shall reach ever to the heavenly kiss of the beautiful God. I reveal unto you a great mystery. Ye stand between the abyss of height and the abyss of depth. In either awaits you a companion. And that companion is yourself. Ye can have no other companion. Many have arisen, being wise. They have said, seek out the glittering image in the plain place ever golden, and unite yourselves with it. Many have arisen, being foolish, they have said, stoop down unto the darkly splendid world, and be wedded to that blind creature of the slime. I, who am beyond wisdom and folly, arise and say unto you, achieve both weddings, unite yourselves with both. Beware, beware, I say, lest ye seek after the one and lose the other. My adepts stand upright, their head above the heavens, their feet below the hells. But since one is naturally attracted to the angel, another to the demon, let the first strengthen the lower link, the last attach more firmly to the higher. Thus shall equilibrium become perfect. I will aid my disciples as fast as they acquire this balanced power, and joy so faster will I push them. They shall in their turn speak from the invisible throne. Their words shall illumine the worlds. They shall be masters of majesty and might. They shall be beautiful and joyous. They shall be clothed with victory and splendor. They shall stand upon the firm foundation. The kingdom shall be theirs. Yeah, the kingdom shall be theirs. In the name of the Lord of initiation, Amen. Behind your closed eyelids, the astral temple of Malkuth begins to formulate. Intoning the divine name, Adonai Hararet, calling on the archangel, Son of the order of angel, Hashim. The archangel Sandalphon emerges and you exchange the sign of the enter, and she responds with the sign of silence. She then asks why you have come to the temple of Malkuth. You only hold up your feather, and the archangel escorts you through the portal of Tav in the east of the temple and up the 32nd path of Tav to the temple of Yesod. You announce your presence again with the sign of the enter, followed with the sign. Gabriel is followed the sign of silence. You receive your astral sandals. The archangel of Yesod accompanies you up the path of Samek to the temple of Tifereth. Once inside, again, you give the sign of the enter. Once inside, followed by the sign of silence. The simple beauty of the six-sided temple of Tifereth is captivating. Gossamer veils of yellow spill down the walls, highlighting the golden ceiling with the central hexagram carved from topaz. The hexagram on the floor is accented with 6 large golden candlesticks. The golden altar in the center of the room is graced with a luminous flame and 6 squared cross and a 6 squared cross. Calling forth the inhabitants of this temple. Yod-Heh Wah-Heh El-Vadah, Raphael, Melachim. A sudden breeze animates the veils in the east of the sanctuary, where the winged archangel Raphael materializes, looking as youthful as ever and wearing robes of yellow with a violet hexagram on the front. He addresses you. Behold the sphere of beauty and equilibrium. By what symbol dost thou enter herein? By the symbol of the feather of truth, holding up the white feather. Satisfied, Raphael takes you to the northeast of the temple. Moving aside the yellow drapery, he reveals a green archway. On the keystone of the arch is the letter Lamed in brilliant white. Within the archway is a veil on which depicted the tarot card of adjustment. Raphael traces the sign of Libra and parts the veil, exposing a door carved from emerald. Holding up the feather, you trace it with the letter. Holding up the feather, you trace with it the letter Lamed. The door opens and you commence your journey on the 22nd path. The path leads out into a wide sand-covered plateau, scattered with stunted trees and desert scrub. The sun looms large overhead. It has an angry red color that is both beautiful and ominous. The air is hot and stifling. You hear the voice of Raphael speaking to you. It is written, arise and go thy way. Thy faith hath made thee whole. You start down the path which leads off to the northeast. The trail leads downhill to a lush river valley. You are not certain what river flows through the valley, but it seems smaller than the Nile. It occurs to you that you might be one of the Nile's tributaries. A herd of wildebeest grazes on the other side of the river. Ahead on the path, you see what looks like an old woman, her head almost completely covered by a tattered green shawl. The woman walks slowly behind a white ox. She periodically gives the burly beast a tap on the backside with a long wooden pole to keep it moving in the right direction. When she reaches a cliff overlooking the river, she stops the animal and sits down to rest on a rock near the end of a fragile-looking rope and wood bridge that hangs precariously over the water. The ox decides to take the opportunity to graze. As you approach her, you notice that the bridge isn't the only way across the river. The path splits into two routes, one path that leads to the rope and wood bridge, and another that leads down to the water's edge, where a series of large, flat rocks are conveniently placed for crossing the river. You greet the old woman cordially. The gods be with you, you tell her. Walk in the ways of Ma'at, she replies. Then, considering your options, you decide to forego the fragile rope bridge and take the sturdy rock path across the river. You start down the path, but suddenly something strikes you sharply on the back of your shoulder, your back throbbing with pain. You turn to see the old woman holding her wooden staff. That hurt, you tell her. Why did you hit me? You were about to take the wrong path, she tells you. That way is very dangerous. You look at the stone path across the river. The rocks of the path are wide and dry. They're so close together that one could easily walk across the river without effort. The rope bridge, on the other hand, looks precarious. It hangs at least 25 feet above the river. The ropes are old and frayed, and some of them have broken. You shake your head. That way looks lethal, you tell her. It is a difficult route, the woman concedes, and it takes a good sense of balance to get across. But have faith in yourself and trust in the higher powers, and you will make it. At least you can see what obstacles you are up against. The easy path, on the other hand, can be fraught with hidden dangers that you do not expect. She points to the river. On the riverbank below you, a lone wildebeest seeking to join the herd on the other side of the river makes its way to the beginning of the rock path. Gingerly, it steps on the first rock and slowly works its way across the stones. The animal is a third of the way across the river when suddenly the head of a huge crocodile erupts from the water. The reptile grabs the hapless beast by the head and whips it into the muddy water. There's a great splash of water, and then the drama is all over. The wildebeest didn't have a chance. You are now relieved that the old woman stopped you when she did, and you thank her for being concerned. She shakes her head and laughs. It is the first time that you get a good look at her face. We have to cross farther upriver. My old ox always wants to take this path, she says. He doesn't know any better, but I keep him out of danger. I can't afford to lose old Montu. The two of you head up the path to the bridge. Watch your step when you cross, the woman tells you. Some of the wooden floorboards are fragile with age. Be light on your feet with a firm grip at all times. Walk in the ways of Ma'at, and you'll be fine. Gingerly, you start across the bridge, gripping the ropes firmly and testing the strength of each board before trusting your weight to it. When you get about a third of the way across, the bridge begins to swing back and forth. You have to work hard to maintain your equilibrium. Halfway across the bridge, you resist the urge to look down, knowing that'll only throw you off balance. Eventually, you make it all the way across. Relieved to reach the other side of the river, you wave back at the old woman, but she and the ox are nowhere to be seen. Ahead on the path, but still some distance away, you see the outlines of what appears to be 3 huge pyramids. As you get closer, you see that the largest pyramid is an awesome structure whose apex reaches the sky. Two smaller pyramids are on either side of the main one. You quicken your pace, intrigued by the possibility of exploring these structures. As you approach the largest of the 3 pyramids, constructed from enormous red-orange sandstones, its beauty becomes evident. You notice several hieroglyphs and relief sculptures carved into its surface. On either side of the main entrance are a pair of columns whose capitals are surmounted with sculpted lotus flowers. Before each column stands a gigantic muscular figure with the head of a jackal. Both figures are dressed in Egyptian garb. The human bodies are covered by tunics, but their canine features, their black pointed ears and snouts, stick out beneath their nemesis. Both guardians are armed with spears. As you approach, the Anubian guards, they lunge forward with a growl, crossing their implements to block your advance. Thou canst not enter the hall of judgment, they snarl, unless thou canst tell me thy name. Anubis and Apoet, you answer, twin guardians of the hall of the goddess of truth. In what symbols do ye come? You answer in the divine name of Yod-He-Wah-He, in the permutation of the name Vav-He-Yod-He, and in this symbol of the feather of truth. The figures take a step back. The god Apawet traces the sigil of Libra in the air before you with his weapon. In the sign of the scales, he says, thou art purified. The god Anubis traces the letter Lamed before you in the letter of the cattle prod and the symbol of justice. Thou art consecrated. Pass thou on. Anubis leads you into the pyramid while Apoet remains at the entranceway. You enter the structure and find yourself in a great hall with black and white tiled floor. 2 great pillars, one black and one white, resembling the feet of 2 goddesses, dominate the hall. You recognize this chamber as the hall of dual manifestation, the place of the weighing of the soul. It is a place of judgment where the souls of deceased are brought to receive whatever reward or punishment is deemed justified by the actions in life. An enormous pair of scales are at the center of the temple. Anubis takes his place by the center of the beam of the scales. It is his job to test the balance and watch over the proceedings. It is also his job to act as your protector, your public defender, so to speak. Just beyond the scales, Thoth, the ibis-headed god of wisdom, acts as a scribe. He stands ready with a stylus and clay tablet to record the judgment. He also acts on behalf of the gods in the hall. Behind Thoth is a fierce-looking beast, which crouches menacingly in the shadows behind the altar, part hippopotamus, part leopard, and part crocodile. It is Amat, the eater of the dead. His red eyes flash at you, accompanied by a low, rumbling growl, and the sound of claws scraping the floor. Those souls who fail the judgment and are declared to be false are devoured by the voracious Hamut. You have no desire to tangle with this monster. 42 lesser gods sit stone still along the sides of the room, observing you like silent sentinels. But what strikes you the most in this hall is the goddess who stands directly before you in front of the scales. She is tall, commanding figure, dressed in robes of the most vibrant green. She holds a lotus wand and an ankh. A large white ostrich feather surmounts her headdress, tied into place by a thin band. The goddess regards you with dark eyes that suggest absolute calm and equipoise. She speaks to you in a quiet voice. Walk always in the ways of Ma'at. From the sound of her voice, you realize the old woman you met earlier, who kept you from straying off the path, was none other than the goddess Ma'at in disguise. Holding up the feather, you address the goddess. Beautiful one of the feather of truth, goddess Ma'at, holder of the balances, I beseech thee to act upon my behalf. Aid me in this hall of judgment. I am true and willing seeker of light and knowledge. My intentions are honest. I am ready to undergo test and trial. I wish to be purified and consecrated to the light. Grant that my heart is made Ma'at. Grant that my will is made Ma'at. Judge me fairly. Grant that this humble aspirant before you be not turned away from that resplendent light which resides in the east. Let my quest on the tree of life continue. The goddess speaks to you. I will judge you fairly, for I am Ma'at, the just, Ma'at, the law, Ma'at, the goddess of truth. Mine is the rule of law and order. My way is the path of purification that leads back to the eternal source. For he who is the fountain of the spirit of man came not to break but fulfill the law. Mine is the way of righteous. Mine is the way of the holy. My path is straight and narrow, like the edge of the sword of judgment, which conserves swift punishment on the wicked and bestows knighthood on the valiant warrior. My path sever yet compassion, like the slap of an ox goad against the back of an animal straying off course. If you speak with a true voice, your actions have proven honorable. Then you need not fear this terrible hall. With the strength of conviction, you step forward and face the assembly of gods to await judgment. The goddess Ma'at takes the white feather from you and holds it in her cupped hands. The feather turns into a piece of rose quartz shaped like a heart. The rose quartz heart is a symbol of all that you are. Your experiences, your deeds, and your deepest spiritual aspirations. Ma'at places the jeweled heart into one end of the scales. She takes the ostrich feather from her headdress and places it into the other end of the scales to be weighed against the purity of your heart. Then the goddess of truth assumes her throne before the scales. Let the judgment begin. Thoth questions you with determination of a prosecuting attorney. He asks you to describe all the symbols of the hall in detail. Luckily, you are familiar with these symbols from your studies, and you answer all questions to his satisfaction. The 42 lesser gods each question you in turn. Hast thou given due thought to the body inhabited by thee? Hast thou spoken unjustly in anger? Hast thou been undiligent in work? Hast thou lived in the light? Hast thou faced the mirror of self? The questions are hard, and the questions seem to go on forever. You answer all the questions truthfully, to the best of your ability. You are asked if you have ever condemned another person unfairly or hurt another person through your own actions. You are interrogated about using spiritual knowledge to exalt your own pride. You are questioned if you have ever cheated another out of something that was rightfully someone else's. You are asked if you have ever taken the easy way out of a problem, rather than taking the ethical or right way. The questions are grueling and uncomfortable, and you are sometimes forced to think long and hard before responding. You answer all questions truthfully, as painful and as self-abasing as it is to do so. The gods already know everything there is to know about you, so it would be foolish to evade their questions. The confessions you are making is a confession to yourself. The scales of Maat tip out of balance, and the side with the stone heart is obviously heavier than the other. With every negative answer that tips the scale more in the direction of the heart, you feel your shoulder throb with pain where the old woman hit you with the ox goad. At the end of their questioning, you were drained but relieved, as if the negative confession had unburdened your soul, as all its private guilts and regrets. Thoth records your answers and then asks you to defend yourself. State your case. You address the gods collectively, summarizing all the positive deeds that you have done in your life, all those you have helped in their time of need, the times that you sacrificed for something higher, the many prayers that you have uttered to the eternal spirit, to the universe, and how you have endeavored to purify yourself for the great work. With every positive answer, the scales tip back in the direction of the feather, and the pain in your shoulder lessens. Thoth beckons you forward and asks one final question. Who is he whose pylons are of flame, whose walls of living urai, and the flames of those whose house are streams of water? Osiris, you reply. When you have finished, the scales remain evenly balanced. The goddess Ma'at gives you an approving nod and then addresses you. You have spoken truthfully, child of Ma'at. Purified and consecrated, you may approach the shrine in the east. The goddess takes the rose quartz heart from the scales and returns it to you. You request one final thing from Maat. Perhaps a symbol, a sign to take back with you. A symbol of the work that you have left to do. A symbol that draws you closer. Anubis leads you past the devouring beast Amut, who growls in disappointment at missing a meal. You are brought to the shrine in the eastern part of the hall and instructed to kneel before an altar in front of the shrine. There on a throne sits the reborn god Osiris. He wears the tall white Stenu crown of the south, flanked by two plumes. From his chin hangs the royal beard of authority and judgment. He holds the scourge of severity and the crook of mercy, and the phoenix wand. The children of Horus are at his feet, and the goddess of the two pillars of Isis and Nephthys stand directly behind him. After witnessing his death on the 24th path of noon, you are overjoyed to see Osiris enthroned and radiant beyond all glory. In gratitude for being allowed to journey up the path of adjustment, you place the rose quartz heart at the symbol of all that you are and all that you hope to become, on the altar before Osiris. He reaches out and touches the crown of your head with the phoenix wand. Thy meat shall be from the infinite. Thy drink shall come from the infinite. Thou art able to go forth to the initiatory feasts on earth, for thou hast overcome. Your journey on the 22nd path of Lamed is at an end, and it is time to go. You return to the temple of Tifereth and descend the path of Samek to Yesod. Continuing on down the path of Tau to Melkuth. On entering the temple of Melkuth, Sandalphon seals the portal of Tau behind you. You bid her farewell and salute her with the sign of the enter, and she answers with the sign of silence. And then we'll do the short form of the banishing of the Apopontos Kakadaimenos. So if you put your index finger of your right hand to your lips and exhale it at the same time, force and vibrate Apopontos Kakadaimenos, or orate, however you comes out of your body, and forcefully throw your hand down to your right hand side and just kind of clear away everything that may have followed you back and to this side of the gate. So it's Apopontos Kakadaimenos. Apopontos Kakadaimenos. And then just kind of wiggle your fingers and come on back. And if you feel like sharing anything about your experiences, we have now